For a decade, the lakes of Kenya's Rift Valley have been rising, swallowing up land and villages, destroying communities. Deforestation is to blame. Soil, once held in place by trees, is washed down from the mountains by the rain, silting up the lakes below, stopping them from draining. In a report called Making Peace with Nature, the UN Environment Programme says we need ambitious global coordination to make the use of land and oceans sustainable.
There are vested interests that are stopping action. We have subsidies for agriculture and for energy, for fossil fuels, that are perverse. They encourage the use of fossil fuels. They encourage the use of bad agricultural practices. So there are many people around the world are trying to impede governments putting sensible actions together.
The report says that none of the global goals for the protection of life on Earth have been met. Deforestation and overfishing continues. 1 million species of plants and animals are threatened with extinction. And there is much to be done to reduce air and water pollution.
If we can get the business community to work with governments around the world, I'm optimistic we can start to move in the right direction. And I think most governments do realise that climate change is adversely affecting food security, water security, human health, poverty alleviation.
Without action, the world is on track to warm 3 degrees above pre-industrial levels by the year 2100, so missing the Paris Agreement target of well below 2 degrees. And like the people of the Rift Valley, the UN says it's the world's poorest in developing countries that suffer the worst consequences of climate change. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera.
Let's hear now from Al Jazeera's Manuel Arapolo, who's in Mexico's capital. Pollution levels there are so bad that smog can be seen trapped above the city.
It's hard to think of the Mexican capital and not imagine the city's massive urban sprawl. The metropolitan area is home to 24 million people, and it's constantly growing. The impact of all this traffic, construction, and industry has wreaked havoc on the region's natural environment. And all of it amounts to one of the most significant carbon footprints in all of Latin America. One of the most visible signs of this is the city's poor air quality. There are times of the year where air pollution is so bad, people are urged not to go outside due to heightened health risks. It's estimated that air pollution is responsible for the deaths of some 33,000 Mexicans every year. And it's a problem that doesn't seem to be improving. According to a recent report by the United Nations Environment Programme, progress on reducing air pollution is mixed, with air quality improving in high-income countries, but continuing to degrade in low-income countries. Environmental experts add that the impact from air pollution from megacities like the Mexican capital extend far beyond urban areas and have effects on local, regional, and global scales.
Let's get a view from the US now and how the new administration is tackling the issue of climate change. Here's Shahab Ratanzi in Washington.
Joe Biden pledged to make fighting climate change central to his administration. Within hours of his inauguration, he'd signed an executive order returning the US to the Paris Climate Accord. He says that every government department will have to consider its greenhouse gas emissions as it makes policy, and there is a great deal to do. The Pentagon alone creates more greenhouse gas than some 140 countries. President Biden intends to convene a global climate summit in April. But environmentalists warn that if the goal is to cajole other world leaders to take bold action, he will have to prove that he's doing the same. And that might mean taking strong executive action, not waiting for some bipartisan congressional deal on emissions. The world can't wait, environmentalists say, especially not for some bipartisan compromise.